The following is a reading by Patricia Rosser at a Unity service in March 2018. It is the prologue to Eric Butterworth's book, Discover the Power Within You.
According to an old Hindu legend, there was a time when all men were gods, but they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from men and hide it where they would never find it again. Where to hide it became the big question. When the lesser gods were called in council to consider this question, they said, "We will bury man's divinity deep in the earth." But Brahma said, "No, that will not do, for man will dig deep down into the earth and find it." Then they said, "Well, we will sink his divinity into the deepest ocean." But again Brahma replied, "No, not there. For man will learn to dive into the deepest waters and will search out the ocean bed and will find it." Then the lesser god said, "We will take it to the top of the highest mountain and there hide it." But again Brahma replied, "No, for man will eventually climb every high mountain on earth. He will be sure some day to find it and take it up again for himself." Then the lesser gods gave up and concluded, We do not know where to hide it, for it seems there is no place on earth or in the sea that man will not eventually reach." Then Brahma said, "Here is what we will do with man's divinity. We will hide it deep down in man himself, for he will never think to look for it there." Ever since then, the legend concludes, man has been going up and down the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, searching for something that is already in himself. 2,000 years ago, a man named Jesus found it and shared its secret. But in the movement that sprang up in his name, the divinity in man has been the best kept secret of the ages.
Go forth and preach the gospel everywhere. Use words if necessary. Lovely little saying. David Davenport used to like using that, and I think it's great because words are inadequate for what we're talking about. Very often in spiritual movements or in religions generally, we're talking about things for which no words have been invented, or which may mean something to one person but quite different to another. Sometimes words get changed as well, and they become differently nuanced from time to time, and sometimes even in unity. And so it seemed to me that grasping in itself was a problem. Why grasping? It sounds like grabbing, doesn't it? Or seizing hold of something. But we always say, let go. For goodness sake, let go, let God. Have you grasped that? We also use grasping for, do you get it? Does it mean anything to you, this idea of the divinity being hidden down deep within man and woman, I am probably sure. I think that's what we want to consider when we talk about grasping power. It is beginning to sense a meaning for us personally. Maybe just an experience, maybe a thought or a start of a belief, but I get it. But what about power? That sounds tricky as well, doesn't it? It sounds pushy. It sounds like bossing others about or influencing in others. But I'm going to jump on a little bit because I was going to talk about books in a minute. But let me tell you, one of the best books I think that Unity has produced was for children. And it was called The Little Me and the Great Me. And it was exactly this concept that Kimberly's been talking about. There's the little me, which is afraid sometimes or lonely or feels left out or just generally unsure. And then there's the great me, which is just like when the little child says, my father's a policeman, and suddenly he's got the parent, the guardian, the teacher, the guide, the life sustainer. And that's the great me. And that book explained a difficult concept in ways that I found rather easier to grasp than some of the others. But nevertheless, this idea of grasping the power, I get it that there is something greater which can provide things that maybe I don't feel I have now. Still begs the question, and whenever I do a talk I like to ask the question, why? Why? Why am I here? What's in it for me? What's all this about? And the answer, I remember James Dillett Freeman saying, at some level, everybody's suffering. We're all hurt in some way. The people who aren't, who are serene the whole time and walking in the awareness of pure being and power, are not here today. They're doing something else totally different. But we've all turned up because we feel that there is something we'd like to get from our togetherness. There's something a little bit missing maybe. And what is it? What is it? And this is where words become difficult again. Everyone has peace of mind. You get AXA car insurance, peace of mind. We have funeral plans. Those will give you peace of mind. But there is a new deodorant about, which really guarantees peace of mind. I've seen it on television, so it must be true. So everyone includes that, and it's true. We all want freedom from the worries, from the doubts, from the resentments, from the feeling that they just don't understand. Comfort may be today's daily word. Comfort is part of it. Most people use the word happiness, and they often translate Aristotle's view of what we're all after. But the Greek word is eudaimonia, and it's not just being fat and happy. It includes something else, which I would call fulfillment. But also for me, having said that words are difficult because of meanings, it's a meaning to life. So I want to be happy and comfortable, but I want some sense of purpose, that there is a meaning to it all. For goodness sake, please. So whatever words you wish to use to describe or encompass those feelings, I think that's what we're looking for. And the little me can't manage. And so we, in the 12-step program, which is very successful and which deals with people who say, my life's a mess and I have a problem, they say, well, what we're lacking is a power to manage our lives. We need a power. And that brings us to the other tricky word, which we've used a lot already today, and it's filled, all the daily word things have it, and the word is I. And one of the great questions in life is, who am I? What am I? And I've seen people reduced to tears by a yogi just repeating, who are you? Who are you? And people come to jelly because we don't know who we are mostly. We say, I am the Christ, I am the Atman, I am the child of God. But I'd like to comment that, we don't know how much of the Gospels really goes back to Jesus, but if you take them as literally true, he used the three different meanings. He said, I am thirsty, which is a body experience. That's a physical need. He very often used what we would call the little me. When he said, why do you call me good? I'm not good. God's the only one who's good. Oh, it's not I am doing the works. It's the Father within who does his works. But then sometimes he would read his daily word and he would say, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Why? Because the Father and I are one. Doesn't look like it, but we are. So those three levels, the body, what we might call the personality, there's a unity word. The personality is the outward thing I'm putting on now, acting on a stage, self-conscious, aware of limitations, feelings coming and going. And the word unity uses for the bit that's calm and centred and unchanging forever is individuality. But other people use those words in quite a different way. Some would say body, ego and spirit, or mind, body, mind and spirit. And I think we can sometimes dither and have a lot of time to try to sort out which is which. But it is the little me but great me I really love. And so why we do this is to identify more and more with that part of us which is never angry, lonely and tired and sick, but always calm. Little expression they have in the 12th step program is happy, joyous and free. And then we hand over. Then we let that part run our lives, if we can do it. Now, there are many books in Unity which use this word power. Emmett Fox wrote two, Find and Use Your Inner Power, and Power Through Constructive Thinking. Charles Roth wrote an excellent book called More Power to You, and Eric Butterworth wrote the book from which Patricia's just read, called Discover the Power Within You. As I read them, they are addressed sometimes to slightly different audiences, and that again is one of the issues about these words. Emmett Fox, I think in the opening to one of his books, says, yes, you need to already understand some metaphysics before I can talk to you. Otherwise you'll think I'm writing gobbledygook here. Eric Butterworth clearly writes to people who are steeped in traditional Christian teaching, and he writes in a fairly high academic way as well, and therefore he anticipates an audience that's well versed in dealing with those. They don't necessarily, well, I think Emmett Fox does talk about life problems, and he talks about changing your life and getting above those problems. Charles Roth uses the word emancipation as his starting point, rather like Emily Cady does in Lessons in Truth. I think her first chapter is called Liberty or Bondage, which, isn't it? Do you want to be free? Well, I am free. What do you mean? No, you're not. You're absolutely tied down to your preconceptions, your ingrained attitudes, your way of handling relationships. Do you want to be free? And that's why I will start in a different way when we talk about how. Let's come to that now. Again, there's a nice little use of an acronym for how, H-O-W, honesty, open-mindedness and willingness. And very few start with that in Unity. A lot of books start with faith. What you need is faith. I like the way the Jaffolas handle that in the Quest. They say, no, faith is tricky. Faith, we've all got faith in something. We might have had faith in the England rugby team. We might have faith in money. We might have faith in, the car will start. But there's something before that, and they'll often come back to the will or desire. What you need is desire to want this. But again, in the 12-step program, they come back a stage further, and they say, the first step is honesty, which, by the way, requires some residual courage to be honest with yourself, or with a counsellor, or with a person who is going to advise you or help you in some way, but to be honest and say, yeah, maybe the great me, maybe what it said in today's Daily Word is absolutely true. But let me tell you what it was like this morning when the little me was in charge, and it wasn't so good. And by the way, I'm not sure if I can tell you this. That's the 133rd day in succession it's been like that. Because, what is it? Thoreau said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And indeed, again in the 12-step fellowship, they say, what you need is the gift of desperation. Get the ego knocked down so low that I can be honest and say, I need help. I need help. And then you look and say, oh yeah? And are you willing to do what is needed? Because it's a tough one. And it's 100%. Of course, in Miracles thing I was reading the other day said, oh, here's the 100-0 rule. You give 100% love and you expect 0% back. How's your day going? I love that sort of thing. Anyway, I think it starts with honesty. Then the words that are used are desire or willingness, or a choice is sometimes used. It's the same thing to focus the mind and say, yes, I get it a bit. That's what I want. And then faith comes when it works. And then understanding comes later. Famous scholastic quotation, Anselm, or one of those guys said, I believe in order that I may understand. Might have been Augustine, one of those chaps. Anyway, and there are two little methodologies or mantras, if you like, that I like to consider from there on. And the first one, and then that's the end of the talk. The first one is from the Course in Miracles, and it just says quite simply, our purpose, why we're on earth, is to experience the peace of God. And that's a choice I can make. It's always there. It is never withheld. It's there now. The perfect feeling of being loved, being an instrument of love, and giving a purpose to our lives. I can choose it. Or I can choose the ego's path, which is to feel hurt or gimme or some negative emotion. Oh, that was not a good feeling just then. I must have chosen wrongly. I will choose again. And do I do it open-mindedly? What would it really feel like? What would it really feel like? Not to be after not even to be after the abundance, the healing, and all the other things. To trust that they will come naturally if I seek first the presence. But I have the power to choose. I can grasp that power to make a choice. And the next one is our old friend Emmett Fox, who says, and the way you do it is just by turning your mind to God, no matter what the problem. And for those who are in this room, I have a little handout. You know, he says in his pamphlet, The Golden Key, he says this is 6 pages long. If I could, I'd write it in 6 lines. But anyway, here's 6 pages. And a pal of mine to whom I preached about this thing took it away and said, here it is in 6 lines. So there we are. Read these lines several times. Do exactly what it says. And if you are persistent, you will overcome any difficulty. Line 2. All that is essential is to have an open mind and sufficient faith to try. Number 3, all you have to do is this. Stop thinking about the difficulty or the problem, whatever it is, and think about your higher power instead. God in whatever way. The great William James, who was a godchild of our friend Emerson, said, well, he's quoting someone else, but he said, it doesn't seem to matter who you pray to, what you pray to, it's the act of handing over. So number 4 is don't try to form a picture of your higher power, which is impossible. Work by rehearsing anything and everything that you know about God, infinite love, truth, wisdom, and so on. Number 5, the rule is to think about your higher power and nothing else. If you are thinking about your difficulty or problem, then you are not thinking about your higher power. Number 6, do not struggle nor try to think in advance what the solution to your difficulty will be. Be quiet but insistent. It never fails to work when given a fair trial. So perhaps we could join together and give it a fair trial, just for a few moments. I'll sit down and perhaps we can go into a little time of quietness together to see if we can think of nothing else but whatever God is. And we'll do it first of all by relaxing. We'll relax our bodies from the feet and the legs. Let the chair take the weight. Relax our hands and arms. Let our shoulders go loose and release any tension in our face and our neck so that our bodies are completely at ease. And then we'll take all the thoughts, all the worries, all the concerns that we had when we started this service, and we'll lay them carefully by our feet, where we can pick them up later if we wish. But for now, we'll let our minds release all thoughts and feelings and come totally empty-handed into the silence by the Holy Spirit, the pure divine essence of our being, waits for us. And in that quiet, we could imagine a golden light which grows larger and larger until it fills the entire inner vision of our mind. And we are now in the presence and in the power of God. We are willing to desire that presence come to us, surround us, envelop us, and be a part of us. And we let go, and we let go, and we let go. And love fills us, thrills through us, shakes, supports, and is our very being. We can love the one who loves us. And feel or hear or sense a voice or a mind which says, "You are my beloved child, beloved child, in whom I am well pleased." You are the light of the world. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. All of my love, all of my power, all of my wisdom, healing, strength is in you right now, my child. And I love you. And we breathe. And we breathe in that love. And we sense. We trust. Perhaps we even grasp the knowledge of that love and that power. And we breathe and we relax. And we give thanks. We feel joy and gratitude, total forgiveness and release from all past worries and doubts, from all future fears. And with that joyful gratitude filling our entire mind and heart, we bring our focus back to our bodies, to this room, to the chair, wherever we may be sitting. We move our fingers and toes and become aware of our bodies relaxed, supported and comfortable. We open our eyes and, still breathing deeply and fully relaxed, moving our fingers and toes, we smile and say, "Thank you, God."
Thank you, God.
Bless you.